go ahead and ask away. And then Courtney, if you have any questions, follow up.
Yeah. So I guess just starting off, it's been a minute now since y'all played a game, but that trip to Florida, what do you think it did for the team aside from, of course, going 2-0?
You saw some things that happened during the course of the game that are good signs for us. Saw Talia get on a hot streak, and we had players starting to look for her. There were times this earlier in the year where we didn't do that. We had a really good 4 or 5 really good clips of where people are starting to trust each other. Sam driving it to the basket to win the game, get stopped, trust Merriam on the dump off pass. We didn't always have that. And you don't always have that, early in the year. So started to see that. It carried over, the Illinois game carried over to that second game. When you have an opportunity to be very distracted against UIC, everybody's leaving from down there. Most people weren't getting on the plane with us. They were having to get their bags together. We had to pack. You had to get all your Christmas shopping. A lot of them went Christmas shopping the day before because we were in a cool little area. There were a lot of reasons we could have been distracted and lost focus and lost the game to UIC, but we didn't. So lots of good unless you were watching on Flow Sports, you probably didn't see some of those things. And that's not one that a lot of people were able to watch on. But there were a lot of really good things that happened. Obviously, I think Illinois is a quality win later in the year. When we see how they end up doing, it's a team that started out ranked in the polls and picked in the top 5 for that league. They, like us, have played a challenging schedule. So I don't know, how they end up in their league. But I think that's a good win for us. I also think UIC is a team that'll be in the A tournament. I don't know which tournament, but they'll be in the postseason. So we played pretty good. We had great fun, had good chemistry building moments. We got back Christmas the day after. We got back on the 28th, ran some turkey off of them, had a little fun party at the house, which was the most competitive I've seen our kids in a long time. Doing ping pong ball rolls and balloon contests. It was a lot of fun. So hopefully that continues to carry over. We won't be rusted. I know we will be. We're going to be a little bit rusty, but I hope that this game allows us the opportunity to work some of that off prior to starting the SEC.
Yeah, just kind of rolling straight with that thought. You alluded to it, just like a nice win, couple nice wins down there. SEC in general has been stringing together recently a lot of just quality wins. I know Missouri beat Illinois a week before you played them. Yep. Just how good is that to see the league really kind of playing well right before y'all start league play?
Well, we needed it because we had a little rough patch there as a league too, where we lost a few. So I think we needed it. The net rankings are starting to come out now. I think we're, you're 1, 2, or 3, depending on which one of those you subscribe to is being the best. Typically, whichever one you're the highest in is the best. That's the way people do. It varies from year to year, but I look at all of them, and I think right now, I know every coach in every league says, "Oh, we're in the best league in the country." We're one of them. I don't know if we're the best, but I think the way that we've played and who we've played, I do think our league did go out and play a challenging schedule. So, once you start turning the calendar, you start a lot of teams are playing today, starting their conferences today. So a lot of great games, but I think it's good to build a little momentum. I'd like to see, obviously, as many teams from our league as possible get into the field of 68. So getting quality wins, proving that you can beat other tournament-worthy teams is important. So now we turn around and start pulling for all of our opponents to win their league. And here comes Joe Foley doing what Joe Foley does and not win a conference game, a non-conference game, and then go start out 2-0 or whatever. You start pulling for everybody you played for. I'm going to be Arkansas State, UCA, and UAPB's biggest fans for the rest of the year. I'll be cheering along. Don't be surprised.
I'll let Courtney ask a few.
Yeah, I just have a couple, and let's shift focus to Incarnate Word if we can.
Yeah.
What do you know about them? Kind of give us your scouting report of this team.
So, a lot of scheduling, Courtney, comes from people I've known in the game and respect. And I got Jeff is a guy that was really nice to me when I was coming up. He was an assistant coach at a lot of different places. I'd see him on the road. I just gravitated toward him. He's been somebody that I respect the way he does things. And then We tried to get a game with them when we had Amber Ramirez here. We tried to take her home. So we reached out then, and it just never, we couldn't find a date. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't our fault. We just couldn't get a date to work out to get her home. And then, of course, after Amber graduates, the time comes for us to be able to get a date going. But that's an area we recruit a lot. San Antonio's kind of a hotbed for us. We've got good relations with their high school coaches there. We've, proven with Amber, and even though Chelsea wasn't from there, she played out of a program from there. We recruit that area a lot. So that's the reason. It is not because my son-in-law is now a baseball coach there. That happened well after. Y'all can Freedom of Information Act, the schedule, the day we signed the contract. But my son-in-law is now a baseball coach there as well, with my grandbaby down there. So nothing to do with that. But Jeff does a tremendous job with his kids. It's a program. He's played Texas Tech. He's played TCU, played both of those games were very, very close into the third quarter. Texas Tech kind of got away from them. The TCU game remained close the entire time through. So they're not afraid to go out and play. They've played in front of 13,000 people at Texas Tech. So, hopefully we'll have a good crowd. I don't think we'll have 13,000, but their team will not be intimidated. He will not be intimidated. They play a fun style. They don't play very fast. So it is typically a grinded out game against them. They play one of the slower paces in the country. So we'll have to do a lot of things to get the tempo the way we prefer it. But if we can't establish that, then we have to play at different paces. That helps us when it comes league time as well. Gives us a variety of opponents. And I always know that a team coached by Jeff is going to come in here well prepared. They're going to execute their stuff, and they're going to give us some wrinkles that will prepare us for certain teams the rest of the way out.
I was going to kind of ask you, that kind of leads into my next question just a little bit. I mean, you guys with your non-conference slate, I think I was reading Kylie's notes, and 15 games is a lot, even for the league.
The max.
Exactly. So how has that helped you guys as a holistically, the competition you've scheduled, the tournaments, the going on the road? I mean, looking back at it, do you feel like these 15 games were very good for you guys?
Yeah, I just ran a report yesterday. There's only 8 teams in the country whose net wins are better than ours. Okay. And they are, I'll have Kylie print something out, but UConn, Stanford, Iowa State, North Carolina State, Gonzaga, Creighton, and Princeton are the only ones ahead of us. If you take the net of the teams that we have wins against, we're ninth in the country. And that doesn't even take into account, the challenges of playing your in-state schools, going on the road to play, in some neutral site games. Holistically, if we didn't play the max number of games, if my players down there found out that the NCAA allowed you to play 15 non-conference games and we only played 13 like some people do, there would be a mutiny. They want to play. They want to play the most games they can play. Games are fun. That means if you schedule 2 games less, that means that's probably 4 more practices. They want to play. So we do it to prove to them it's harder on us. It'd be a hell of a lot easier to only play 13. It really would, because that gives you extra recovery time. That gives you extra film time. That gives you extra skill development time. We are in constant state of preparation. Okay. And when we get windows to improve, they're few and far between. That's where we start getting now once the league starts, because we're on a routine. But holistically, the first part is I wouldn't have a team to coach, because they would all go, Coach, why aren't we playing? Why aren't we playing? So that's where it starts. But then the other part of it is to me, that's the games are the test. The games are, practices are good. And there's nobody here to judge what we're doing. There's nobody, very few people, every now and then we have somebody wander in, but games are the hardest thing to do. So I think we have to test them. Again, it goes back to that point. I just don't think if the NCAA tells us we can play 15 non-conference, I think we should. So that's why we do it. And then as far as challenging ourselves, and I think it's because I was an assistant for 14 years before I was a head coach. I could give a crap what my overall record is. I do not care. I don't care. I mean, it's nice to get the 100-win ball or 200 wins. It's a fun thing to celebrate. I want to beat good teams. I want to have memories of, hey, remember that time we beat UConn? Remember that time we beat Baylor? Remember that time we won? If you don't play those games, you don't ever get that opportunity. Now, with that comes some losses and some hard days, some losses that you would like to forget. But false confidence is the worst thing you can give a team. And if you roll in, like last year we were 13-2 and we lost our last two, so we didn't have a chance to recover before we went into the league. Like our middle part of our schedule taught us, and I think we've shown signs of improvement. So I think we've changed that little thing. Has been an important part for this particular group. But again, when we recruit these kids, we tell them we're going to put you in marquee games. So we have to do that. Otherwise we lose credibility. And
I just have one more, Ethan. I promise I will give it over to you. I'm not going to act like Bob on this. Thanks, Kylie, for laughing at my joke.
Not even close to Bob yet. Come on.
I know, right? I just need to keep rolling, right? Coach, kind of going into that a little bit, but we're going into league play in January. Where do you feel like this team needs to improve? Yeah, just from your coaching, the coaching aspect of the game, where do you feel like this team needs to improve?
Our rebounding is always going to be a sign that we're looking for. Because to me, that's the biggest separator. What happens when you go from into the SEC? You're going to have about 8 games to where it doesn't matter how you shoot it. It doesn't matter how you do anything else. If you can't rebound them after you make a miss, they're just going to keep shooting until they make it. So I want to, obviously Saylor has established herself as an unbelievable defensive rebounder. When Merriam's in the game, our defensive rebounding percentages are in the low 80s. When one of the two of those are out, it drops down into the high 50s, low 60s. So we've got to get a third rebounder. Sam is doing her best at 5'0", and Mac does what she does, and Talia gets a lot of tip balls and some tough rebounds too. Those guys, we've got to find a third rebounder, whether that's by committee, whether that's one person really taking it on as an important role. And then we've got to develop that 7, 8, 9. Like, I'm really comfortable with Carly Keats coming in the game. I think she can come in and play any of the 3 perimeter spots for us. Jenna, Christina need to be able to give us a few minutes there. We get a little bit of depth. We thought we were going to have depth at the beginning of the year with transfers and Sasha's situation and then an injury to Emory. Now all of a sudden that depth thing is gone. And now you're back to where, do we really want to do a rebounding drill in practice and risk a jammed finger? Or do we want to do I see all these cool taking charge drills that all these people, we're not doing that. There's no way I'm going to ask one of our players to step in front of one of our men's practice. It's just not worth it at this point. So we need to get a consistent 7, 8 player, give them confidence. Jenna played really good for us down in Florida, so I hope that continues. Christina continues to be a really good defensive player for us. I want to see her offense come along. So, and then the role acceptance of our first 5. Their roles are very clearly identified. I think if I ask Ethan, he could probably write down what we expect out of our top 5 players. He's seen us enough. But then now they have to accept those roles. So I want to see us do that. And then the last part of it, as we get into a routine of Thursday, Sunday, I want to see these kids develop a routine. Train like a pro, treat your body the right way, recover right, eat right, sleep right. This is the best time of the year for a basketball player because we're not in class. It's the scariest time of the year for coaches because they're not in class. They've got ample amount of time to be doing other things. So we've got a few outings scheduled. We're doing some fun things before classes start. Not that I don't trust them. It's just the way it is. There's extra time, but they got to sleep right. They got to eat right. They got to train right. Got to prep right. And although it is a great time, it's also a scary time up until we start school back in the next couple of weeks.
That's all for me. Thank you so much, Coach.
You got it.
I will start mine with a Bob kind of level question. What is your son-in-law's name?
Butch Ray, R-E-A.
Okay, I just need that. I'm gonna write a little note about it.
Butch, my daughter is Abby, and their baby, my grandbaby is Emzey, E-M-Z-E-Y.
Great. Last thing I have is just, I feel like probably worth asking every time, just kind of update on Emory.
Yeah, it's not progressing like we hoped. we really were, I was very hopeful in probably right before we went to Florida. We'd gotten some, it looked like it was progressing, and it went the other way. I mean, it took a complete 180 to where I don't know anymore. It's literally day to day. She has not practiced since. It's a tough deal because it's just not a basketball injury. It is not a basketball. There's not a lot of people to get on the phone and talk to each other and go, "Hey, the last time you had a women's basketball player get a Tommy John injury, what'd you do?" They're like, "What the hell are you talking about?" So they're kind of writing the owner's manual as it's going. Like there's no other test cases. I'm not smart enough to know what they call it in the medical field, but like there's nothing for them to compare it to. So she hasn't practiced. We maintain hope every day that it'll flip around the other way. To me, if it can go from that to that, then it can go from this to that too. And the one thing you don't ever doubt with Emory is if it's a toughness issue, then she'll be back. If it's a play with a little bit of pain, she'll be back. And my filter is always if there's a chance for permanent damage or long-term, then I step in and be the adult. I don't care whether they tell you can play or not. You're not playing. That's kind of my threshold, that kind of that filter, unless a family member or a doctor and they just say, "Coach, we're playing." Basketball is really important in the moment, but she's got 40 years after the ball goes flat or more, way more than that. She'll have way more years than that, but she's got to, have mobility in her left elbow and left arm. So I hope it swings back the other way. But all you have to do is watch the bench. She's still really involved. She's really been very, very good with Jenna because they kind of have had a similar path. Small schools translating into Division I, kind of not knowing your role as a freshman, and maybe you play 12 minutes one game and you don't play the next. Emory's been through all that. When Miriam hit the shot at the buzzer, we almost had to keep Emory. I mean, Evan was having to keep Emory on the bench, and so she's helping us do things that aren't going to show up in practice, but it's hard for her to the not knowing and the back and forthness. So long answer to a really short question. Sorry.
No, you're good. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Well, are we all good?
All right, guys. Thank y'all.
Thanks,
See you
y'all.
tomorrow.
you.
All right. See you.